They didn't show you crime scene photos, but they basically gave you like a sketch of the
Right.
formation of the sticks.
Right. It certainly appears to be, some sort of attempt at a kind of runic, script. But as to deciphering, any meaning behind that with any certainty, that's a bit of a guessing game. And, I would have to go back and read what I wrote, but I recall tossing out a couple of sort of hypotheticals. But what you have really in the very late 18th century and then really throughout the 19th century, and this is sort of in the wake of nationalist movements, throughout Europe, right, where there is no such thing as Germany, right, until 1872. There is no such thing as Italy. You have these sort of loose confederations, and so they go looking back for great sort of ancestor traditions on which to kind of found this idea, right, of the nation, right, and so this is sort of part of what comes to be known as Germanic mythology. This kind of, neo-heathenism or neo-paganism, of which Odinism would be sort of one kind of extreme ideology within that has sort of right-wing racist connotations. That sort of really comes into its own in the 20th, late 19th, 20th century. And there are sort of so-called neo-pagans, and neo-heathens. The fact that somebody, is referring to themselves, as an adherent of, what's sometimes called, in Icelandic, it's Asatru, Asatru. This just means belief in the gods. And
what I've learned is Odinism is they believe in just one god, Odin.
Mm-hmm.
Asatru and the pagans believe in Odin, but
the pantheon,
other gods.
So, Odinism, as far as I've ever encountered the term, is sort of always associated with a kind of fringe, racist, sort of right wing, sort
but
of.
The pagans and the Asatru,
they're all over the place.
They're not as racist, though.
And then the other end of the spectrum is sort of, neo-Nazis in lockup with runic tattoos who hate black people and and whatnot. So,
and my knowledge of this is way low,
but
human sacrifice back in hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago was something, but in today's society and over the last couple hundred years, what I've learned is human sacrifice isn't something that this religion would do.
It's debated whether that was ever part of Norse religion, and it may or may not have been. The archaeological record is very inconclusive. I think what's probably more important from your perspective is that it's widely believed in the 19th century sources, which are the kind of things that are freely available online. When you Google, that comes up that yes, like the Vikings practiced, ritual killings, right, and sacrifices. I think that would be an idea that somebody who was interested in this material from a certain perspective would come across, likely.
Right.
Yeah.
But realistically, history says that this type of
it's not documented.
It's not documented. What I was told too is when they do those rituals, they're usually so obvious of the actual ritualistic part of it, like there would be no question. Like we have questions on, is this really, and you have questions on this.
Yeah.
But what little research I've done is, if it's a ritual, they're going to let you know it's going to be so clear that you could tell.
That could be, yeah. That could, yeah.
I don't know if that's a good term, but
there was not a lot of detail.
You couldn't really tell. Now you said if something along the lines, again, don't let me put words in your mouth, but if it is this, it could possibly mean this, but it's really hard to tell because it's...
In terms of deciphering sort of what characters are being used, if they are runic characters, and runic, it's sort of, again, one of the ideas about them is that they originally have magical significance, that they would have been used in incantations, in rituals. There is a sacrificial connection in the mythological poetry. These are things that, again, somebody who was sort of, an Odin fanboy would likely come across. So it's entirely plausible that those configurations, again, I didn't see the photos, but just looking at the outlines, that somebody else thought was part of of an attempt to render something in characters. Yeah, it looks pretty clearly like runic. Imagine that this was somebody's idea, that when you do a human sacrifice, you carve runes.
I think again, don't let me put words in your mouth, but what was relayed to me was it could be anything because it was not very deliberately put, or it could be, like you said today, it could have just been an amateur trying to do it. So with your experience, you could not look at these runes and say that is a spiritual sacrifice, ritual, plausible, but you can't say for sure yes or no.
No, I'm not a runologist, and even the fellow that I talked to is, much more knowledgeable about runes than I am, and is published, on runes, is not, before his retirement, was not sort of a full-time runologist. If you'd like me to put you in touch with somebody.
What did he say? Do you remember?
Whatever he said made it into my report. I think we kind of came to an agreement about sort of what it could be and what it couldn't be. And
I know you use the word guessing. We're guessing.
Yeah. This kind of educated guess. I mean, it's not a random assortment of sticks.
Right.
Binaries. that seems very unlikely.
Okay.